new series today called Love Song. And as you saw, as you heard, it is all about relationships. And we want to devote these next 5 weeks to talking about relationship because, let's be honest, relationships are kind of messy, right? Can anybody, give me an amen on that? Relationships get a little, like, for you singles in the room, this hunt for the one, right? Like, that's not easy. And then when you find the one, you got to figure out this whole mess of dating as a Christian in a non-Christian world, and it gets a little messy in that environment. And then, if you work your way through that, then you got marriage, and all the singles are thinking, man, as soon as I get married, it'll be so much easier. And all of the married people immediately laughed as soon as I said that, because the truth is marriage takes a lot of work. It's not easy. And so we're going to kind of walk through over these next 5 weeks relationships. But we want this series to be extremely practical for you. So I encourage you to take notes. Especially today, I have more content than I have time for. So I apologize to Jorge in the back that is trying to translate this service, because it's going to get fast in here. But there's some things that I'm not going to be able to elaborate on a ton, but it would be great for you to take some notes and keep the study going at home, okay? But we want this to be really practical for you. And so I'm going to start off with some practical advice for singles who may be thinking about or may currently be using an online dating service, okay? So I never had the pleasure of using online dating. It kind of wasn't a thing until after I'd already met my wife, but I won't make fun of it, even though I kind of want to, because I've seen it work successfully, okay? I've seen a lot of people that are happily married because of online dating, but I've helped a few people create their profiles, and I've helped a few people, like, weed through some profiles of people they match with, and so I've learned that in online dating, not everyone is 100% truthful all the time. Amen. And so I'm going to help you decode these online dating profiles, okay? Are you ready for this? Okay, so guys, if a lady says in her profile that she is 40-ish, that means she is exactly 49 and a half years old, okay? Just, Now, ladies, on the flip side, if you're looking at a guy's profile and he says he's 40-ish, that means he is 52 trying to hook up with a 25-year-old, and you should run, okay? Get out of town. Now, ladies, if a guy in his profile says that he's huggable, okay, that might sound cute, but huggable is code for he's overweight and has more hair on his body than Sasquatch, okay? So that might be your thing, and if it is, more power to you, but just I want you to be aware before going too far. Now, guys, if a lady says that she's a romantic in her profile, more likely than not, that means she only looks good by candlelight. Okay, so just heads up, be careful there. We're having some fun today. Now, ladies, if a guy's profile says that he's laid back and gets along really well with his family, that means he is unemployed and lives in his parents' basement. Okay, so just watch out. Now, guys, if a girl's profile says that she's bubbly and fun, I guarantee you that means she will never shut up. I mean, she is just going to talk and talk and talk, so watch out. And then last but not least, ladies, if a guy's profile says that he's average looking, that means he fell out of the ugly tree, and he had every single branch on the way down, so just watch out. So I hope you enjoy that practical words of wisdom from Brent. But here's the thing. This advice for you today isn't going to come from me. And some of you are right, thank God, because if it's all Brent's ideas, this is going to be a rough day. But it's not coming from me. In fact, it's coming from the wisest man who ever lived, according to the Bible. And it says he has a book that he wrote called The Song of Solomon. Okay, so we're going to be looking at King Solomon. This is David's son. And so David, we talked about last week, this is his son Solomon, and he wrote an entire book called The Song of Solomon, and it starts off with chapter 1, verse 1, and it says, this is the Song of Songs. Okay, so what that means is like King of Kings, Lord of Lords. Song of Songs means this is his best one. Like, this is his Grammy winner, okay? He wrote over 1,000 different songs, and this is his favorite. And so for the next 5 weeks, we're just going to walk through these 8 chapters from the book, Song of Solomon, and we're going to look at what he has to say about relationships. Now, it can be tricky to follow along with the Song of Solomon if you've ever tried to read it on your own, for a few different reasons. One, it was written 3,000 years ago, And so the go-to phrases back then are different than the go-to phrases now. Like nowadays, you would say that, you know, she's hot. 3,000 years ago, he would say, you look like a horse. Okay, that doesn't work in the timetable changes. Okay, so just be aware that there's some things that are different. There's also a lot of allegories. So like they talk about mountains, that ain't talking about rocks. Okay, he talks about gazelles leaping. He ain't talking about no deer. Okay, he talks about vineyards a lot, but it ain't talking about grapes. Okay, so there's a lot of things that actually are referencing something else, and so we're going to help weed through that for you. And then the other thing that gets tricky about the Song of Solomon is that it's actually 3 different people speaking throughout these 8 chapters, but it doesn't necessarily always give you a great idea of who's speaking when, and sometimes it switches person like in the middle of a verse, okay? So we've done the hard part for you, and we'll point out who's speaking and who they're talking to as much as possible so that it'll be a little bit more easy to follow along with. Now, the 3 characters that we're going to read about are the lover, which is the man. Presumably it's Solomon himself. And then there is the beloved, which is the woman, his wife. And then there are what they call the daughters of Jerusalem, which are the friends, the girl's friends. Okay, and so it's going to be about the guy, the girl, and her friends, and this journey of relationship. And what we're going to see over 8 chapters is how they meet, how they date, how they fall in love. There's a whole section on their wedding night. Okay, that's going to be July 15th. Guys, if you want to write that down. Ladies, if your husband fell asleep already, just wake him up, because on July 15th, we're going to be talking about how you can have the best sex of your life. Okay, so if you want great sex, then come on out July 15th. All right, and so this place is going to be packed. It's going to be awesome, and so we're going to learn a lot of great stuff. And then after that, it talks about how they fought, because everybody knows that not every relationship is perfect. There's going to be some fighting. And so it talks about how they fought and how they made up. And then it's going to talk about how they ended, how the relationship developed over time, and how they had a lasting love. And so that's going to be the themes for this next 5 weeks. And so before we dive in, though, I've got 2 ground rules for you. Okay? 2 ground rules for listening to the series. Rule number 1 is you are listening for yourself only. Okay? I know the temptation, especially in a relationship series, especially for husbands and wives, to listen for your spouse. We're not going to play that game today, okay? So ladies, tuck your elbows in, okay? Because I don't want to see this move at all during service, okay? So ladies, keep your elbows in. Gentlemen, I do not need to hear you say, amen, preacher. Amen. Okay? Because we all know that when you get that loud, you're just trying to make sure your wife was taking notes of that section, okay? But you're not listening for them, you're listening for you, okay? And then the second rule for this is we are not looking back, we're looking forward, okay? Because the truth is, in a room like this, every single one of us, we have a past that we don't necessarily want to talk about. You know, we've gotten it wrong a lot. And as we shine a magnifying glass on how relationships should be, it's going to be tempting to feel defeated, to feel like, man, I messed up already. I'm already in this relationship that I screwed up, or maybe I broke a bunch of relationships. We're not looking at yesterday, we're looking at tomorrow. Okay? And so here's the amazing thing about God. He is in the business of making all things new. Okay? And so right now, I need you to just commit with me that we're going to look at this as a this day forward kind of message, okay? We're not looking at you from the past. We're not judging you for the past mistakes. We are looking forward so that your marriage or your relationships moving forward can be amazing, can be awesome. Cool? Do we agree to all that? Amen. All right, so we're going to dive in. We already read verse 1. We're going to dive into verse 2 and 3, and really this kind of lays this foundation for us for what this next whole series is really going to be about. Because the thing is, if you want to have, or you want to meet an amazing person, or if you want to have a marriage where you can not just survive it, but you can thrive in it, then it all begins with having godly character. Okay? Godly character is the foundation that we're going to be able to build this on. And really, in every relationship that you have, the best thing that you can offer is a godly character, okay? And so this series is really going to apply. It's focused in on marriage and dating, but even if you're single, maybe you're in a phase of life where you're single for life. Okay, you just know it's over and you're okay with that. There are still going to be lessons for this that are going to be important for you to take into every relationship that you have, okay? And really with this, what we're going to learn is that God's way doesn't just work, it's better, okay? God's way is better. It's better than the way you've done things. It's better than the way the world tries to do things. God's way of handling relationships is simply better than any other way. So let's dive into verse 2. It says, this is the woman speaking, and she says, "Let him kiss me with the kisses of his mouth." And it starts off good, doesn't it? My favorite translation of that is the French translation. I think that one's best. A couple of you was like, it's PG, man. All right, "For your love is more delightful than wine." What she's saying is your love. The way that you love people is amazing. And really that's going to be what we're going to talk about a lot this morning is the way that we love, the way that we treat other people. And this affects your relationships outside of marriage even. This affects you on the job. This affects you with your kids. This affects you with your neighbors, with your friends, with family members. The way that you love. And here's my goal for this series is that we would all learn the art of loving well. And that's my heart. And then she says, "Pleasing is the fragrance of your perfumes. Your name is like perfume poured out. No wonder the maidens love you." Now, this is kind of this first part of this attraction that she has. And what she's saying in this moment is, your perfume, this fragrance, when you just walk in a room, everybody is happy you're there. Right? Like if you got bad BO and you walk in a room, nobody's happy you're there. All right? But if you bring a good smell into the room, you bring a good fragrance, it's awesome. But notice what she says. She doesn't say, because you're tall, dark, and handsome.
That's right.
No, she says it's your name. Right? "Pleasing is the fragrance of your perfume. Your name is like perfume poured out." And the name represents your character, your integrity. And before people even meet you, they know your name. They know your reputation in the room. And is it of somebody that knows how to love? Your character is the most important aspect of any relationship that you have. And if you want a godly marriage in the future, it begins with having godly character today. Amen? All right, here we go. Verse 4, we're going to start getting into some of the nitty-gritty here. "Take me away with you. Let us hurry. Let the king bring me into his chambers." Yes, that means exactly what you think that means. And then the friends join in and they say, "We rejoice and delight in you. We will praise your love more than wine." In other words, the friends are speaking up now and they're like, "You're right, girl. You got a special relationship. Your husband, this man is amazing." In fact, they're saying in this moment, "We want relationships like your relationship." And I would wouldn't you love for that to be the case in your life? That your friends look at your marriage, that your friends look at your relationships and say, that's the model I want to follow after. And so that's what's happening for Solomon and this woman. And then she continues, the woman speaks up again and she says, "How right they are to adore you." And then this interesting line, she says, "Dark am I, yet lovely." And right here, it starts this conversation of attraction. But what she's saying right here is don't look at what everybody else looks at. What everybody else looks at as far as attraction, that's not what my man looks at. That's not what Solomon looks at. Because when she says, "Dark I am, yet lovely," then she continues, she says, "O daughters of Jerusalem, dark like the tents of Kedar, which are all black, like the tent curtains of Solomon, which were like this dark purple." She's basically saying, and this is really awkward as the lightest skinned dude in the room. But what she was saying, and that some of you were like, "Oh, he is." What she's saying in this moment is that the dark skin was not attractive, which sounds weird in our context because some of you pay money to go to a tanning bed so that you can look a little more attractive, right? Because the goal is tall, dark, and handsome, not short, pasty, and white. Look, this isn't even a tan. This is just freckles moving closer together. So here's the thing. In that day and in that part of the world, the darker skin you had, the less attractive you appeared because you were dark because you had to work in the fields. So it was like, it was a way of saying, look, you're so poor, you're so lowly that you got to work out in the fields. You weren't protected. You got burned by the sun. And so when she's talking about her dark skin, Black is beautiful, all right? So calm down. But what she's saying is, her skin has been damaged by the sun. It's burnt, it's dry, it's not attractive. And yet her husband, her man, still thinks that she's lovely. And then she kind of explains why her skin is so darkened. Actually, first she says in verse 6, do not stare at me. In other words, don't look at the wrong things. Don't get so focused, your attraction on the wrong areas. And we're going to talk about that more in a bit. It says, because I am dark, because I am darkened by the sun, my mother's sons, her brothers, were angry with me and made me take care of the vineyards. And then she says, my own vineyard I have neglected. Now, her own vineyard, again, she's not talking about grapes, she's talking about her body. Okay, and you're going to see that word vineyard pop up a lot. And let me just tell you right now, it's always talking about a body. Okay, so we're going to just keep that in mind. And so she's basically saying, because of this issue, because my brothers forced me outside, I had to take care of the land and I wasn't able to take care of my own body. But what she's saying to Solomon and what she's saying through this song is that it's okay, because there's something far more important in this area of attraction than just physical. Okay, and we're going to talk about physical attraction in a bit, but there's 3 attractions that we're going to cover today, and the first one is a spiritual attraction, because that's what they had for each other. His character, his name, his godly character is what went before him, and so there's a spiritual attraction that's even more important than the physical, because one of the most attractive things that you can offer in any relationship is how much you love God. Amen. And I promise you that if you put Jesus first in your life, it's gonna get attractive. Amen. Right? People are going to be drawn to you. The opposite sex is going to be drawn to you, but even people at work are going to be drawn. The right people are going to be drawn to you. I meet some people that talk about how, I really want a Christian husband, but all I seem to attract is the wrong kind of guy. Can I just say, if you don't like the fish that you're catching, maybe you should look at the bait you're using. Okay? And so we're going to talk about this more and more going on. In fact, my wife's going to be teaching next week, and she's going to talk about this a little bit more. But the goal, if you're single in the room, the goal is not to find the right person. The goal is to become the right person, okay? Andy Stanley said it like this. He says, become the person you're looking for is looking for. Okay? Become the person you're looking for is looking for. And so I hope that you'll kind of take that. But here's 3 things that we can do to have better spiritual attractiveness. All right. So if you want to get all prettied up as far as your spiritual self, it starts with how you love and worship God. Okay, that's where it begins. It begins with how you love and worship God. It's kind of a funny story. My wife still to this day doesn't remember the day we met. Isn't that awesome? Like, the short, pasty white guy apparently is really winning in her. But she doesn't remember it all, but I remember it vividly. I remember she's standing under this tree, and I'm just watching her as she's serving, as she's ministering, and as she's just loving God. And I know it's going to sound really creepy, but there are times I just get lost watching her worship. Like, I'll just be staring at her as she just pours out everything that she is, everything that she has to God. And man, that is sexy, right? That is beautiful to me. And if you want to attract the right kind of person, man, get your hands up during worship, okay? It's not just a single check, right? Okay, in CLC, we have very expressive worship. And maybe that's different than what you're used to. Maybe that, you didn't come from a background where, you were expressive in worship. And that's okay. You can grow in it here, because look, on a Saturday at a baseball game or a football game, we raise our hands, we clap, we shout. How is it any different than Sunday morning? So here's the advice I have for you. Guys especially, get your hands out of your pockets during worship, okay? Yeah. Now, you don't have to go big and bold first day, okay? I know it's uncomfortable for you, so just hold the baby, okay? Yeah. So just during worship, just hold the baby. And then as you get more comfortable with that, you can tell us how big the fish was. Fish was this big. And eventually, maybe you can go touchdown, okay? And so you're just going to grow in that. And in fact, I'll give you my signature move, okay? If you want to steal the Brent McQuay special, that's actually one hand in the pocket, and the other hand as high up as you can go. And that is just that. And you've got to get the power stance, too. But that is the Brent McQuay special. And so if you want to steal that and put it in your repertoire, can I just tell you, it works. My wife is a 10. I am not anywhere near that high of double-digit numbers. But I can tell you from personal experience that what attracted my wife to me was the way that I worshiped and the love that I had for God. And so if you want to marry up, gentlemen, that's the key, okay? Take it from somebody that married up, okay? So learn to worship and love God. Second is to pursue your God-given purpose. Okay, pursue your God. There is nothing more beautiful, more appealing than somebody that's living life on purpose. Amen. That somebody that has already recognized and identified what it is God has called you to do in life, and you're doing it. You're not just working a 9 to 5, but you're passionate and you're serving. Look, serving is sexy. Okay? So you need to find a way that you can serve, because here's what happens, and this works for guys and girls. When you see somebody that you're semi-attracted to, and they are serving others, they're putting other people's needs before their own, you immediately think of how they'll do that in your relationship too. Amen. And that is attractive to anybody. So ladies, you want a guy that puts you first, find a guy that can serve. Right? Go check out Kids Life downstairs. Look at the volunteers in there. Check out the volunteers in the worship team or on the media team. But look for people that are serving. Come out on Saturday. We're gonna be giving food away to people that are hungry. Why don't you come and check out that line of people that are serving and see if there's a guy for you or a girl for you, because trust me, serving is sexy. The third way is to have godly standards. You're going to increase your spiritual attractiveness through godly standards. In fact, that's what happens for this story. Some of you probably need to have, if you're in a relationship right now, you probably need to have that, this is as far as we're going to go conversation, right? Because you've got godly standards. The woman speaks up in verse 7, "Tell me, you whom I love, where you graze your flocks and where you rest your sheep at midday. Why should I be like a veiled woman beside the flocks of your friends?" Now, this veiled woman in those times was a prostitute. So basically she's saying, the prostitutes would gather at the edge of the field, so the guys after a long day of work would look for some companionship, and it would be right there. The veiled woman would be waiting for them. And so what she's saying is, there are some things that other women are willing to do that I'm not willing to do. Why should I be like a veiled woman? And in this moment, she is willing to be single rather than compromise her convictions. And I know that some of you are thinking right now, man, this is so outdated, right? Because the world's got a try it before you buy it mentality when it comes to this. But here's what the Word of God says throughout the Bible, that sex is great. Sex is awesome. I can't wait for 2 weeks from now because it's going to be fun. Sex is amazing when it's in the context of marriage. When you take it outside of the way God designed it. Because here's the thing. God says sex is for a husband and a wife in the confines of marriage. Period. There's no exceptions. There's no other rules. That's the rule. Okay? And when we take it out of that, it becomes destructive. But here's the thing. In your relationships, you have two choices, two options. You can either serve God, love God together, and obey God, honor God together, or you can sin together. And those are the only two options. And if you're comfortable with that, then that's on you. But why does this even matter? Well, it matters because you're building a foundation. And when you're building a foundation, it's important to build on the right thing. Now, if you compromise before marriage, and then you decide to marry that person, guess what? You know and they know. You're marrying a compromiser, and they know they're marrying a compromiser. What happens a few years or a few months into the relationship when something fishy happens? Are you going to start thinking, they compromised before, will they compromise again? And mistrust begins to form in a relationship because you already know that they're willing to break the rules. So why would they keep the rules in the relationship as well? We've got to build on the right foundations. Now, I got to remind you, what are our two rules? Right? You're listening for yourself, but also you're not looking back. And it's okay if you messed this up yesterday, okay? Because we're talking about this day forward, okay? Amen? All right. I got a move on spirit happening, so we're going to move on. All right. We're going to hit that more in the future. But in verse 9, Solomon speaks up, the man speaks up, and he says, I like you, girl. You're awesome. I liken you, my darling. And you're going to read this word darling a few times. It's actually the Hebrew word for best friend. In other words, he's saying, man, you're the best. I love you. You're amazing. You're my best friend. But then he says, I liken you to a mare, harnessed to one of the chariots of Pharaoh. I told you, he calls her a horse. I mean, it's a female horse, is a mare. And so he's saying, babe, you're my best friend, you horse. Don't try this at home. But here's what's important about this. Pharaoh's chariot was pulled by a very special group of horses. They were the only purebred white horses in the kingdom. And so it was a very unique horse, and it was a very special horse. In other words, what Solomon is saying to his woman is, you are the best. You are one of a kind. You are amazing. Like those white horses that pull the chariot. Do you remember what her insecurity was? That she had dark skin. And he's saying, babe, I don't even see the burnt skin. I don't even see the sunburn you got. I don't even see the dry. You're like a pure white horse. Man, that's kind of beautiful when you take it out of weird context. I love you exactly as you are. Verse 10 says, your cheeks are beautiful with earrings, your neck with strings of jewels. We will make you earrings of gold studded with silver. In other words, he's saying, babe, you're the best and you deserve the best. I'm going to give you the best. And then verse 12, the woman speaks up and she says, while the king was at his table, so the king's table was a public place. So when he's off in the kingdom with all the people around him, she's like, he's saying all these wonderful things about me in public, that's important to understand. Okay, if you're dating somebody that's not saying anything good about you in public, watch out. But then she says, my perfume, remember that's her character, spreads its fragrance. Now what's happening in this moment is they're separated. King's in one place, she's in another place, but she's thinking about him. And she's thinking about all the good things that he says about her. And she's thinking about the love that she has for him and the love that he has for her. And then she says this. She says, my lover is to me a sachet of myrrh resting between my breasts. Now, I have no idea what a sachet of myrrh is, but I bet Solomon was glad he was one. Right? Because that's, some of you are not even getting that yet. Sachet of myrrh between her breasts. Okay? That's where he wanted to be. My lover is to me a cluster of henna blossoms from the vineyards of En-Gedi. In other words, what she's saying right now is she's returning the compliment, right? He's calling her the best of the best, and she's saying, no, babe, you're the best of the best. It's like that sickening couple. It's like, I love you more. No, I love you more. No, you hang up first. No, you hang up, right? They're just having that little back and forth with each other because they're so madly in love. But what he's saying in this is that there's something way more important than the physical. There's an emotional attraction that they have for each other. Emotional attraction. So write that down. Married couples, if you'll spend a little bit more energy focusing on the emotional needs of your spouse, it's going to make huge improvements in your relationship. Singles, if you'll start working on the emotional needs of other people, man, it is going to make you so much more attractive. And so we do this in three ways. The first is by valuing people. When we value somebody, when we honor them, we raise their value. That's why he's calling her the best of the best. You're that white horse. You're amazing. You're the best. He's valuing her and he's honoring her, and she's returning the favor, talking about whatever that sachet of myrrh is and the flowers and stuff that she describes him as. Now, just a quick tip. This is a generality, but a quick tip for you. Guys, if you're trying to value and honor a woman, speak to who she is. Okay, talk about who she is. Babe, you're amazing. Babe, you're beautiful. Babe, you're one of a kind. You are special. You're amazing. You're awesome. Speak to who she is, right? That's why when my daughter walks in the room, I always say, hey, beautiful. You're beautiful. Now, does my daughter always act beautiful? No. But all she's going to hear from me is how beautiful, because I'm raising her value, right? And guys, we need to do the same thing for the ladies in our life. Now, ladies, for you, it's the opposite. If you're going to want to value a guy, talk about what he accomplishes. Talk about the stuff he does, right? Babe, you cooked a mean steak last night. Man, Gordon Ramsay ain't got nothing on you, babe. Like, adding value to him by his accomplishments. When he comes in from mowing the lawn, you need to say, babe, them lines look straight and even. You did a good job of that. Right? Like, when I'm out in the sun, sweating and hot, and I come back in, and my wife is going, ooh, babe, you mowed so well today. You know, we need that, okay? That's how you honor. Am I right, guys? Come on. Somebody recognize the things that we do, okay? I'm so much fun in this series. The second thing that we do to raise this emotional attraction is that we speak life to people, okay? We speak life to them. I know that the temptation is always to speak the negative or to speak, what I consider a lot of times I'm a realist. My wife says I'm a pessimist. I think I'm a realist. But sometimes when we focus on the negative, we speak the negative, we miss out on an opportunity to speak life into people, right? If you don't like what you're seeing in your relationships, look at what you're saying in your relationships, okay? Because when you speak life, you're adding value, and you can say things about people that aren't even true in the moment, but you're raising their value. Right? I do that with my wife, I do that with my kids. I do that to you guys every week. I don't even know if you realize that. But think about it for a second. Everybody in this room knows that you messed up this week. Like, we all know that you came in here a sinner. Like, you disappointed God this week because I disappointed God this week. We all have. But every Sunday, I don't look at you and go, you sinner, you're filthy, you're ugly. Why would you even come to church? You know, Jesus does. Man, you're just lucky you're saved by grace because you deserve the lake of fire. Right? No, I don't preach like that at all, ever. Right? You're never going to hear that from me because I'm not talking about who you are. I'm talking to who you can become. And I'm going to speak life into you. And even if you had a worse day of your life yesterday, today's a new day. And tomorrow is a fresh start. It's a fresh opportunity for you to be all that God has called you to be. So I'm always going to speak life to you. Now, here's the warning that I have to give you. Okay? And pay attention to this. If you don't, this is especially for the marrieds in the room, if you don't, someone else will. Okay? And this is how adultery starts. I know that you think that it starts because of sexual attraction or something, but it actually happens when there's a void in the home for emotional attraction, okay? When the husband or the wife is not receiving that emotional support at home, it leads to these other things. Because what happens when the husband doesn't get a good job, buddy, at home, but he goes to work, and that pretty young thing walks in the office and says, ooh, man, the way you did that report, man, that was amazing. You did a fantastic job on that sale. That was awesome. And all of a sudden, the husband is hearing things that he doesn't hear at home about how good he was and how great he did. That's attractive. And now it leads to other things, but that's not where it starts. Amen. Same thing for the ladies. Some husbands, you haven't listened to your wife talk in a long time. And they're desperate to just have you listen to them. Amen. Right? And to someday a guy's going to come by and he's going to say, how was your day? And he's going to listen to your wife. And then he's going to say the sexiest words a woman can hear. Tell me more. Right? And all of a sudden, at that moment, it's all over, right? And so here's the thing. If you don't do it, somebody else will, and you're not going to like where it ends up. Because it will lead to other things, okay? Now, the third thing that we do is we think good thoughts about them. This is how we add emotional attraction in our lives. We think good thoughts about them. I know that sometimes it's easy to just get caught up in this whirlwind of thoughts of what are they doing, what are they saying behind my back, and all that. But I love this story, this song that they're singing, because they're separating. She's still thinking about him. She's thinking about how awesome her man is and how special he is. And she's not thinking, oh, he's late from work again. I bet he's talking with his secretary. Oh, he's late for work. I bet he went off to go somewhere he shouldn't have gone. No, she's thinking the best thoughts that she can about him, giving him the benefit of the doubt. And as Christians, we have to take captive every thought, right? Because here's what will happen is the devil will try and weave a narrative about your spouse that isn't even true. But he's going to get you to believe in it, and then your spouse is going to come home and you've got an attitude and you're angry, and he's like, man, my car broke down, and now I got my wife nagging me. Right? All right, I'll step back. I apologize. Too far. All right, verse 15. We got a few minutes. We're going to try and run through this. It says, how beautiful you are, my darling. How beautiful. Okay, this is going to start moving towards that physical attraction, okay? But take note of this, gentlemen. It says, your eyes are doves. He starts a little bit north of where most guys start, okay? He starts with how beautiful her eyes are, which is a huge statement because Hebrew scholars would say that the eyes are the windows of the soul. That when he's looking in her eyes, he's saying, everything about you is attractive to me. I'm in love with everything about you. And then she responds, she says, oh, how handsome you are, my lover. Oh, how charming. And our bed is verdant. I didn't even know what that word verdant meant, so I looked it up, and it means lush and fertile. Whoa. Yeah, right? So basically, she's saying, babe, you look good, I look good, this thing's about to be good. Right? Our bed is verdant. And then, hey, just understand, the physical is good. God created it, all right? And then verse 17, the man interrupts her, though, and he says, the beams of our house are cedars, and our rafters are firs. And it's so easy to just read that and keep on going. But what he's saying is, whoa, babe, I agree. The bed is verdant, it's lush, it's great, but we have to do this thing on the right foundation. We've got to build this thing on cedars and firs. We're not going to just rush into something that we're not supposed to do yet. And so physical attraction, that attraction is amazing. It's important. If you're not physically attracted to somebody and you're thinking about hooking up with them, why? Like, that's just a weird marriage right there. Okay, there needs to be physical attraction. Okay, the woman, and this is in chapter 2, verse 1, it continues. The woman says, I'm a rose of Sharon, a lily of the valleys. This is so cool. She goes from being insecure about her skin to saying, I'm like a flower in the valley. I'm special, right? I'm the most special woman on earth because of his love. And then he interrupts her and he says, like a lily among thorns is my darling among the maidens. She's saying, I'm a flower in a field. He's like, no, babe, you're a flower amongst thorns. All these other ladies, man, they're nasty compared to you. They're ugly. They're just thorns. They're not even flower. You're the only flower in the field, babe. He's smooth, right? In chapter 1, she's insecure. In chapter 2, she feels special and loved because he has loved her through her insecurities. When she was insecure about the darkness of her skin, he called her a white horse. He compared her to the most lovely and beautiful things in creation. And she feels special because of it. But not only that, she also feels secure. She says in verse 3, like an apple tree among the trees of the forest is my lover among the young men. I delight to sit in his shade, and his fruit is sweet to my taste. Remember, her issue was the sun had burned her skin. And she's calling her husband, this man, she's calling him the tree that she can find shade and protection from the sun. How beautiful is that? That she's saying, look, I feel secure in you. I feel safe with you. Guys, the best thing that you can offer to a woman is to help her feel secure. That she can feel safe around you and secure with you. There you go. Having so much fun. In verse 4, he has taken me to the banquet hall. He's not ashamed to be seen with you. If all you got is Netflix and chill, you need to make your relationship a little bit more out there, all right? And his banner over me is love. And then she says, strengthen me with raisins. And that right there, that is the funniest line in this chapter. Strengthen me with raisins. It means nothing to you, but at the time, raisins were an aphrodisiac. Okay, that's how they viewed raisins. Like, at one point, David's army wins a really important battle, and so he gives all of his men a thing of meat, some wine and some bread, and a bag of raisins. In other words, David was saying, guys, you did great today, you won the battle, go home, have a nice dinner, have sex with your wife. We'll see you in the morning. I mean, that's how they viewed it. Like, raisins was code for let's get it on, all right? That was her way of saying, hey, babe, go get the chocolate and the oysters, because this thing's happening. All right? Some of you are like, why are you? Anyways, refresh me with apples, for I am faint with love. I mean, she's ready. And then check this out. It says, his left arm is under her head, and his right arm, they're in make-out position. Like, he's ready to go to town. And then, verse 7, and this is important, highlight this, take note of this. It says, daughters of Jerusalem, I charge you by the gazelles and by the does of the field, do not arouse or awaken love until it so desires. And this phrase, until it so desires, in Hebrew, really should be translated until the right time. Right? What they're saying is, whoa, hold up. I know you want the raisins. I know you're ready for this verdant bed. I know that you feel like it's time. Don't do it until it's time. Don't do it until it's time. Now, here's the thing. The devil didn't create sex. Right, he just tried to pervert it, right? Sex is awesome. I'm telling you, 2 weeks, it's going to be great. We're going to teach you how to have the best sex of your life. It's going to be awesome. But it has to be in the confines of this marriage relationship, right? God created it to be amazing. He built you the way he built you so that you fit perfectly together with the opposite sex. And it is awesome. There's a lot of ways he could have created that system to work. I'm glad he chose the way he chose. Right? It's not like God showed up in the Garden of Eden and saw Adam and Eve in the bush and said, oh my God, what are you doing? Right? No, like he created that, and it's important for you. It's beautiful in marriage, but it has its place. It needs to be built on the right foundation. We're going to talk about that a little bit more next week. But here, we're going to close with this. We're going to pray. I just want to say, remember the ground rules for this series. We're going to laugh a lot. but there's some practical stuff in here that is going to be important for you moving forward. And I know the temptation right now is for a lot of you to say, man, my relationship already broke all of those rules. My marriage right now is already going the opposite direction of everything that you're talking about. And you feel like you're in a hopeless, helpless situation. But can I just remind you for a second of how you were before you met Jesus? Like, he fell in love with you when you weren't worth loving. Right? He loved you when you were ugly and sinful and didn't do anything right. He didn't wait for you to get right before he would love you. He loved you first. But he didn't love you blindly. He recognized your issues. He recognized your problems. But what he did is he loved you in such a way that today, I guarantee you, there's not a person in the room that is the same today as you were the day that you met Jesus. Right? He is making all things new. And he is making you better. And if you will give God control of your relationships, I promise you, the same miracle that he's worked in your life, he can work into your relationships. Okay? This day forward. Before we pray, I've got a challenge for you. Actually, I got 3 challenges for every person in the room. These are the 3 challenges based on our 3 points. The first challenge is to work on your spiritual attractiveness. Okay? Work on your spiritual attractiveness by serving this week. Come join us on Saturday for the food pantry from 9 to noon. You can come a little bit earlier to help set up. Go to Growth Track today. Today's class is all about the church, but next week it begins with finding your purpose, discovering your purpose here. But this week, look for ways to just serve. Maybe that's serving your spouse. Maybe that's serving in your community. Maybe that's serving others. If you're single, find a way to serve this week, okay? Second challenge for you is to work on that emotional attractiveness. And the way you're going to do that this week is you're going to speak life into people. Just speak life. Speak life. Every situation. With your boss, speak life. With coworkers, speak life. With your kids, speak life. Okay? With your spouse, speak life. In every relationship, just speak life into them this week. And then the third challenge for you is that physical attraction. That physical attraction right now is, if you're single, then I'm going to challenge you for 7 days, a week of purity. Okay? If you're not married, that's a week of purity. I would love for you to do more than that, but I want you to start with 1 week. 7 days of saying, you know what? Maybe yesterday I was sexually impure, but for the next 7 days, I'm going to give my purity back to God, and I'm going to live this thing right. Okay? Now, if you're married, on your way out, I have a box of raisins for you. I don't know why you're laughing, because I ain't even joking. Okay, on your way out, I got a box of raisins for you. You know what to do with it. That's your challenge for this week, okay? That's your challenge for today, okay? Enjoy your raisins, okay? Everybody good with the challenges? All right, let's pray. Father God, we just worship you. We adore you. We thank you that the Word of God is active and alive in our lives, that this guidance that we have from Solomon, from your Word, can improve every relationship that we have. Father, I pray right now that we would have the motivation and the courage to get this area right, that we would learn the art of loving well. Father, that for every single person in the room that has been obsessed with finding the right person, Father, that you would just begin to speak life into them and bring them into a place of understanding that it's their life that they need to work on, not somebody else's. Father, for every married couple in the room that is thriving in their marriage right now, I just pray blessings over them, that it would just get better and better and better. Father, that they would learn the secrets to making this honeymoon last forever. Father, for every married couple in the room that maybe not so much of a honeymoon right now, that they're struggling. Father, I pray that you would just be the Prince of Peace in their lives, and you would give them the understanding that you can make all things new and fresh and great again, and that you can breathe new life into dead relationships and cause new things to blossom and grow. So, Father, I pray for courage for every person in the room to pursue godly relationships the right way. And Father, I just pray blessings over every person in this room. Now may the Lord bless you and keep you. May his face shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May he lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. In Jesus' name.